Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. Now before we get into it, I'd just like to inform you about a new website selling quality current and retro Spurs jerseys, okjersey.com. They sell all current and retro Tottenham Hotspur shirts in all sizes. They sell the current fan and player versions as well as the 80s and 90s retro shirts, including my very favourite, the 1991 FA Cup final shirt. You can order very easily from okjersey.com, and if you use the code Chris, you will receive an 8% discount off your final order. You can also use the QR code on the top left of your screen. And by the way, they also have some training wear here and the 25-26 colour special edition jersey. Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. This is another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast, and in this edition, we'll be talking about another home defeat here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Newcastle United 2, and at the time of recording, Spurs are down to 16th in the Premier League table. We have just 29 points from the opening 26 games. There is 12 Premier League games remaining, and at the moment, at the time of recording, West Ham are currently beating Manchester United at the London Stadium, so Spurs are just 3 points away from the relegation zone. At half-time, a toxic atmosphere, very, very loud boos here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at the final whistle. Thomas Frank walking down the tunnel, and a lot of fans shouting, "It is time to go." Now, as per usual, we've got 3 channel regulars with us. Craig Dearman's back with us. Craig, how are you?
Oh, yeah, bloody marvellous. Yeah. Well, let's get into it.
Back with us also is Ricky Norwood. Rick, how are you?
I'm on the brandy, mate. I am on the brandy because I don't know where we go from here, sunshine.
I don't blame you at all. And also back with us is Charlotte Henry, of course, a journalist. Charlotte, how are you?
How am I, Chris? I'm about as happy as the boys are.
Charlotte, let's get straight into it. Let's start with you. I think the last time that you were on the podcast was after Spurs beat Manchester City at the Etihad at the start of the season when things looked very, very positive. How are you feeling right now? And give us your thoughts on today's performance, today's result, and where Spurs are in the league table right now.
Yeah, last time I was on, Ricky was so excited about the prospects for the season. He was climbing up the walls. There was all sorts going on. But the truth is, and I appreciate this is not a useful thing to say on a podcast, but I'm actually lost for words at how bad that was. I've never seen anything like it in the first half. If you thought the Man City first half was bad, this was worse. The second half, they didn't have enough in it to kick them on. And look, let's cut to the key question, which I know we're going to come on to, boys, which is the future of Thomas Frank. After seeing this second half, seeing the videos Chris has been posting of the reaction in the stadium, I don't see there is a choice but to relieve him of his duties. I really liked Thomas Frank. I really wanted him to get the job in the summer. I actually wanted him to get the job a couple of summers ago. But this has not worked. It's not going to work. It cannot work. We've now got 12 days without a game. This is the opportunity to make a change and perhaps stop us plunging towards the relegation. Let me just set out this context for you. West Ham might be about to win as we're recording this. Arsenal are probably going to win the league, and we are hurtling to the relegation zone. Could it get much worse that West Ham are going to send us down the year Arsenal win the league?
Craig, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's performance and today's result. And as Charlotte mentioned there, I'm sure we'll get into talking about Thomas Frank. Me personally, it is time for him to go. He has to go. We've got 12 games in the Premier League remaining. And if Spurs want any chance of staying in the Premier League, I don't know a single fan inside this stadium right now. The amount of people, and I've spoken to hundreds of people today, before the game, during the game, and after the game, and everybody feels exactly the same. It is time to go. How are you feeling?
100% agree. I've said it for a couple of months now. I'd never thought this was going to work under Thomas Frank, and this has just been a massive underline of that thought by me. I honestly thought I was kind of out on my own in like November after the Arsenal game. He lost me, and ever since then, I just couldn't see it working, and it's just gradually got worse and worse and worse. I don't even look forward to seeing us play anymore because he's sucked all the joy out of it. The players just look bereft. They look lost. If the club have got any cojones about him at all, anything, then he needs to go tonight. Yes, he's not the only problem at this club. We all know that ENIC are a big problem as well, not investing in the January transfer window. But as we've said before, we didn't back Thomas Frank properly in the January transfer window. So if you're not going to back him, if you're not sure about the manager, then he should have gone in January. This result tonight, I don't see how he survives this. I am just so annoyed, frustrated, and all the words we've used before. This relegation thing is real now. It is real. West Ham still winning at home against Manchester United. We're 3 points off it. And have we got the fight? Have these players got the fight for a relegation scrap? Because all those teams around us do. Forest will have, West Ham will have, and Leeds will have 100%. And if I'm brutally honest, I cannot see where the next points are coming from. It's actually one of the worst times I can remember being a Tottenham Hotspur fan. And this manager has to go tonight, get an interim in, get somebody in who's going to G these players up, get the crowd behind the new interim manager, and then go all out for Poch in the summer. It is just unbelievable. We're at this point after, 7-8 months ago, lifting the Europa League. It's gone badly wrong for the club. I can see why they wanted to stick with him because they wanted to go down a different route. It's quite clear it wasn't going to work months ago. It's never going to work now, and he needs to go tonight.
I think the worst part about all of this is it has become very, very normal. The fact that at half-time there are loud boos. There were extremely loud boos at the final whistle this evening. I don't think I've heard them that loud, actually, all season. We've heard a number of boos all year round. Eddie Howe has just stated on Thomas Frank's or the chance towards Thomas Frank during the game because the Spurs fan base, mainly the South Stand, was singing "You're going to get sacked in the morning," and the Spurs fans were also singing Maurizio Pochettino's name. Now, Eddie Howe on this has just said it's not nice. When you look at Tottenham and the size of their injury list, you can see how difficult it is. Thomas Frank is an outstanding manager, and I hope that he gets the time to show that. Charlotte, what do you want to say on that?
I'm not having it. It's the injuries anymore. I mean, the injuries are terrible. You can't underestimate losing. Look, you boys have done it every week forever, listing the injury list. We know that. But that there is no reason that the 11 players that are turning out for Spurs should look as diabolical and disorganised as shambolic as they do. Sorry.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's performance, the result, where we're sitting in the league, 3 points away from the relegation zone, and Thomas Frank.
For me, Chris, I mean, I don't think I've sworn as much as I've sworn today, my friend. Absolutely horrendous from top to bottom. Yes, we've got massive problems in this club. Yes, the board are, they've failed again, to act, to use the money, to back the team, forget the manager right now. They failed to act within sacking this manager earlier. Myself and Craig were talking from, like, that Chelsea game was a sackable offence, and then 2 weeks later, the Guna game, the fact that you went in the same way and couldn't lift to throw a jab, even, do you know what I mean? And then you see that against Man City in the first half, same thing. We've seen this; it's so repeatable that to me it has to be a drill, it has to be a game plan. Because today for 60 minutes, do you know what I mean? We played that way. We played to not lose. We played to get a 0-0. We allowed them to run all over us, left, right, and centre, to pop off shots. How many corners did they have in the first half? How many shots did they have in the first half? What are we talking about here, bro? How can you set up a team? What was the plan? Well, tell me what was the plan in the first half? Because I ain't got a clue. I haven't got a clue. How do you set up a team to go out there in the situation that we're in, to go out there and play like that? How do you have second halves against Man City and alike, and then fail to recognize what was positive, what worked, how our offense worked, how our defense worked, and then build on that? It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. This manager has failed in everything that he set out to do. Yes, injuries. Yes, we know injuries. But his plan, his way forward, whatever plan, and he's supposed to be the man with all the plans, each one of them are horrendous. They're just horrendous. Every time a player does well, he takes them out of the team. We've seen that all season. When Tell started getting a run of games, he started getting a bit of a rhythm. Do you know what? He scored a goal, first open play goal in 10 hours. And then what do? We drop him to the bench. Do you know what I mean? It's like every single time that there is a positive, he goes against it. I'm done. I was done from the Gooner game, and I tried my hardest. But for as long as I can remember, all I've been saying about the style of football, because I haven't known what it is from the start of the season, is relegation style football. And if you play relegation style football, you end up in the relegation zone. The fact that his job was on the line, the fact that we're in the position that we're in, do you know what I mean? I can't believe that this was the game plan to go out there against Newcastle tonight. At home. Are you mental? Are you crazy? What are you on right now? Help yourself. But sometimes you got to look at, there's some funny conspiracies out there. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes you got to look at them now. You got Vinay the Gooner, ex-Gooner at the top of it. You've got Cochrane, the Gooner fan, and then you've got our manager that drinks out of a Gooner cup. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, mate. But I tell you what, it's not working. I think that, and I don't get how he gets so much sympathy. So much sympathy this guy has got. You look at in comparison to Ange, you go, what is going on here? Everyone, every single pundit gives
not
him
from Tottenham
sympathy.
fans.
Not Tottenham fans, not at all. But you listen to Joe Cole the other day, and he's like, yeah, give him a 3-year contract, stick with him. You hear anyone on Talk Sport, yeah, I feel sorry for him. Feel sorry for him? Feel sorry for him? Are you for real? Nah, man. Nah.
I think we all remember
Charlotte.
what he did at Brentford, right? That's why I liked him. But this is collapsing around us.
Nah, man. Even that, you look at Brentford style football, and he done okay. He done great for Brentford. But what has he done? Bringing Brentford football and every single member of staff over from Brentford makes us play like Brentford. And you know what, Charlotte? We are not Brentford. I didn't start supporting his team to look or play like Brentford. I'm sorry.
No,
I love this team
right.
because we are Tottenham Hotspur, because we've always gone with passion, flair, front foot. Let's go for it. Even in the darkest of times, we went for it. I can't see this, man.
I think you're making such a great point, Ricky. The point is he's never stepped up from Brentford. He still thinks Tottenham are Brentford, and forgive being patronising, but you've got to think bigger if you're at Tottenham Hotspur. You're managing a team in the Champions League.
But you look at that, right? You look at the 2 Brentford games that we've played in, Charlotte, right? The first game was one of our best league games. From front to back for 90 minutes, we actually played football, overlaps, triangles, interpassing, knockoffs, layoffs, and then we go to Brentford in the away match, and we're time wasting. Vicario's time wasting, and we're taking 35 minutes for a throw in, and we're happy with a 0-0. I'm sorry, what? Nah, man, nah. This guy
You're totally right.
He is statistically, data analysis, fan eyeballs, everybody that can see it with any sense can see he is the worst manager Tottenham have had. I don't know since when. Do you know what I mean? I start thinking about Gross, but I don't know since when. Give the man a travel card, let him go on his way. Good luck to you, bruv. Brentford ain't far. I'm sure they'll hook you up. Do you know what I mean? Do something else. Get a chewing gum advert. Wrigley's are hiring. Do that. Do you know what I mean?
Ricky, are we in a relegation fight?
I said it time ago, bruv. I said it like we was playing relegation football. Now we are in that. Of course we are. You look at everybody else around us in January, right? Palace.
1-1,
right?
1-1. United 1-1.
But look at what we're cheering for. Look at what we're hoping for, other results. But you look at West Ham, they went out there and bought 2 strikers. They bought Adama Traore. Now, look, none of them I would want at Tottenham, but at the same time, they gave it a go. You look at Palace, they got decimated. They gave it a go. They went back into the market. You look at anybody around us, and they've been trying to give it a go. Somebody's acting. What did we do? We stood still. We sold Brennan Johnson, and we bought Gallagher. And you know what? Gallagher done well. There was a lot of good things that happened with Gallagher today. But my goodness, I don't know how else you explain failure. Do you know what I mean? From those above Frank and from Frank himself, because his plan A, B, and C has been horrendous. It's only when we play nothing to lose football. When you play nothing to lose football, that's when we start seeing something click. But at that point, we're already losing. So I'm over it. I'm done. I've tried to be polite. I've tried to be balanced. I've tried to see the positives. You know what? Even them, there ain't them no more. Because we can't even get a throw on or a corner until 70 minutes. So I don't know. I'm just so over it, bro. And I hate feeling like this. The last time I felt like this, I was a kid in school when I didn't want people to ask me about football on the weekend. Do you know what I mean? I was hiding it. I was trying to, let's talk about basketball. Like, let's talk about something else. Do you know? That's how I'm feeling right now, man. And I hate feeling that way about my club. I hate slagging off my club. I hate slagging off the manager that represents my club. I hate slagging off the board when they've done what they've done. I don't want to slag you off. I don't want to point these things out. I don't want to feel this way. But my goodness, you don't give me much to go on, do you? Do you know what I mean? Like, core dear. Always tomorrow. Next window. Next manager. For me, bring in Mason. Poch loves Mason. Bring him in. He's a Tottenham boy. At least it will get some passion going. At least it will get some Tottenham way going before he can join the coaching staff with Poch and Jesus, and we can have a happy reunion. Bring in Paul Mitchell. He's on a free as well. Let's get the band back together in the summer. But right now, we need to make a change and get back to the Tottenham way, man. Because my goodness, look at the confidence that has been drained out of these players. The fear in which they play in. Did you see how they were standing still in that first half? How many times were they standing still? Are you for real? Like, my goodness, the game plan, what was it? I'm done, bro. I'm done. I'm over it. I'm done. And I've tried to be polite.
As Craig said, that is now a result. West Ham United won, Manchester United won. Spurs are now 5 points away from the relegation zone. West Ham, of course, are in 18th. Charlotte, how long can this go on for? How long can it go on for that Thomas Frank remains in his position? Because when you are constantly at home games now, away games as well, you've got the fans singing and chanting all of these things towards the manager. A lot of people, or most people, are extremely unhappy. How long can this continue, given Spurs' league position right now?
I think it has to be about 12 hours. I mean, I don't understand how it can continue. I think he's a good guy, Thomas Frank. I think he did a great job at Brentford. I think he's probably a good coach one way or the other, but this is not working and it's not going to work. We're way past the point of that, and we're about to be on the brink of relegation. We are in free fall, and so something has to change. And so I think if he's still the manager in 24 hours, it's a problem. There is a significant period of time now between the games. You have to just reorganise it.
Let's get into the match facts and stats here. Now, overall possession, Tottenham Hotspur had 53% of the ball to Newcastle's 47%. XG, Spurs 1.76, Newcastle 2.28. Shots, Spurs had 16 to Newcastle's 21. Shots on target, Spurs had 2, which they were both in the second half. Newcastle had 5. Now, total touches inside the opposition box, Spurs had 28, Newcastle with a staggering 53. Goalkeeper saves, Spurs 3, Newcastle 1. Aerial duels 1, Spurs 12, Newcastle 18. Fouls committed, Spurs 15, Newcastle 11. And corners, Spurs only had 2 to Newcastle's 12. Now, Craig, let's talk a bit about the starting 11 today. Vicario, Gray, Dragusin, Van der Ven, Spence, Gallagher, Basuma, Sarr, Odegaard, Solanke and Simmons. And the subs today, Byfield, Kinski, Mwani, Olasesi, Polinia, Rosewell, Tell, Williams, Barnett and Souza. What do you make of the starting 11 today, Craig?
I was surprised he didn't start Matisse Tell, to be honest with you. Quite understandably, didn't start Randall Cullen Mwani because he's been terrible. And João Polinia, even though he's been playing well the last few games, he obviously needed a rest. So that made sense. Just surprised he didn't start with Tell, but the rest kind of picks itself. Other than you could argue Bissouma, but who comes in for him if you're not playing Paulinho? So Simmons on the left, I was never 100% sure about. Didn't really get into that game in the first half. So, yeah, he couldn't really do much else with the starting 11 because of the amount of injuries and suspensions we've got, to be honest.
Craig, I know a lot of people, and when I read that comment out about Eddie Howe and what Charlotte said there about the injuries, should there be more sympathy towards Thomas Frank on the injury front? Because, Ange Postecoglou had a lot of injuries during his 2 seasons as well.
Yeah, and Ange didn't get off the hook so lightly with the media. I think it's disgusting the way they've kind of been out into support almost of Thomas Frank and the reason why they do it is because they want him to stay because they know he's not going to work at Tottenham, and Tottenham down in the relegation zone and Tottenham fighting against relegation is a news story. So they're going to want to keep that in place. They don't want him to be sacked, but I don't buy into this with the injuries. I'm agreeing with Charlotte there. It's an issue to a point, but these are all international footballers, and at the very least, you want to see them put in the effort. There was times during that first half where there was no movement at all, absolutely no movement. So easy to mark. No through balls are obvious because the players are just standing still, and it's the old adage: you're so easy to mark when you're standing still, and just like the players didn't know what they were doing. And a lot of it was from the coaching. You can see in the patterns of play, it's just through the coaching, and it's just not Tottenham. It's never been the right fit. And Thomas Frank needs to go. No, there's nothing, Charlotte. You're right. There's just nothing. I can't even tell you what type of team we are anymore, Chris. What are we, counter-attacking? Front foot? Are we pressing team? Nobody knows. And he's been here, 7 months now? It's not good enough. It's not good enough. He's never been good enough. He needs to go tonight, and I don't care anymore. I just want Tottenham to pull away from that relegation zone, and we got to start again. I've just had it with this manager. He's got to go. Nothing is going to change if you keep Thomas Frank at this club. I'm sorry.
I do think that's right now. I do think that's right. And, maybe some players will come back. There are good players to come back. We all know that. But I think tonight is the point of no return. And I'm sad about it. As I say, I wanted him to be the Spurs manager too a couple of years ago. I'm really sad this hasn't worked. But it hasn't. Conor Gallagher now playing himself into a mess because he's not, for the second goal, because he's not in the right position. Archie Gray playing in 7 positions again. What footballer he is, by the way. Finally getting a bit out of Xavi Simons, who I thought was about the only one that looked good tonight. But he keeps shoving him to the left. I don't, as we've said, Tell gets into form, disappears. There's not much logic sometimes into what is going on. And that, I think, is really frustrating.
You look at the two sides, all right, about the injuries. You look at the two sides. You look at Ange's side when it was decimated. And the thing is with Ange, what always gets me is that they love to talk about 17th last season. They don't want to say that we was 15, 16 points clear, and nor do they want to acknowledge that we finished 5th the season before, but without a Harry Kane. But it's all right. It's all right. We move, right? We move. We can see what it is. But you look at the both teams, right? When we was decimated this time last year, didn't matter if we had Archie. We only had 1 defender in defence. That we had maybe 4 fullbacks playing in the back 4. But the philosophy and the way was for us to keep moving forward. To put pressure on that side. Now, sometimes that was to our detriment. But at least when we went into a game, we knew that we was going to go for it. To sit back and wait for... I'm like, when you look at this, like, are you... Like, come on. Like, I can't, man. I can't. I cannot. Today, there were so many things where you look at what that game plan was and you go, honestly, what was you thinking? What was you thinking? And I think, there is character in this squad, and some of them did stand up today, but there were performances as well that weren't to pass. So it wasn't all on, but it wasn't all on Frank. But like, you look at some performances today and you just go, but they're confused with the plan. They're not with the plan. People want to talk about Romero and use Romero as a scapegoat. I get it, right? Sometimes he's petulant. But when he's not with it, when he's not with it, that's when he's rash. If you look at last year, how long did he go without even picking up a yellow card? But nobody wants to speak about that. Nobody wants to speak about Dearman being a dirty player. Every single time he plays us, kicks us up in the air, causes 4 or 5 injuries every single time we play against him. But the narrative is on Romero right now. And did he do wrong after his comments and get that red card? Yes, he did. But he's the least of our problems. At least he cares. At least you can see. And that's his petulance. Yeah. It's because he cares so much. That's why he will lash out. You know? So, like, I'm just done. I'm done. I'm done with this way, man. It can't be the way forward. Go on, Chris. Sorry.
Ricky, I was going to ask you, can it continue like this? Because when you've got fans shouting at Thomas Frank walking down the tunnel, it's time to go. When you've got the whole of the South Stand, or most of the South Stand, and then the stadium singing, you're getting sacked in the morning, they're singing Pochettino's name. Even at the final whistle, there are a lot of fans shouting up, very, very frustrated fans shouting up to the likes of Johan Langer, shouting abuse at him, the sporting director. Can this continue? Are they going to make a decision? Because we've got 12 games left in the Premier League. Yes, we're 5 points away from the relegation zone. Where do the next points coming from? We're facing Arsenal next year in 12 days' time. That is going to be an extremely tough game. What's an easy game for Spurs right now? There are so many questions that I could pose to you, Ricky, but the one that I want to put to you now is, are Spurs going to make a decision? Do they have the balls to do this?
I don't know, mate, but they haven't as yet, and I don't think they. My gut is that they're trying to stick with him until the end of the season. They're trying to be inactive again. This new 2.0 ENIC is looking worse than the last version of ENIC. You know, I feel that Levy would have made a decision by now. You know, but these lot are holding on. They're holding on. And I don't know what they're holding on to. I don't know whether that's a severance package. I don't know what that is. But this guy has had 18 sackable offences when it comes down to what the plan is. When I go back to Chelsea and I go back to Gooners, because those were massive games, right? They wasn't must-win games, but they were massive games. They're almost as if, the way I described it at the time was, if you going into a final against Real Madrid, how are you going to approach this? And we approached it like little lambs to the slaughter. We let them run all over us. We let them do what they wanted to do. And we was hoping for an individual. We was hoping for the best. And I didn't see a way forward at that point. When it comes down to tonight, where it is massive, right? I think every fan out there would call it a must win. Every one of us, right? I think would call tonight a must win. Or at least you've got to come out there and show us what you're about, right? That you're with it, that you're down for the fight. Go on, Chris.
Now, Thomas Frank, in the press conference just now, he was asked a question whether he will be in the Spurs dugout against Arsenal in 12 days' time. He said, I am convinced I will still be in charge. I understand the question, and easy to point to me, but it's all about the whole club.
It's delusional. I'm sorry.
That guy has found more deflections than Richarlison, mate. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what this guy is on, but you know what? I love his tenacity. I love his bravery. But like I was saying, bro, you go into tonight where it's a must win, and your game plan was not to throw a punch. He's got to go, Ricky, bro.
The thing is, he's always been so confident that he will still be here. He's always been very confident that we are progressing and we are playing better football and we're seeing signs. We're seeing positive signs. It's like that he's not even listening to the Spurs fan base. It's like the club at the moment are not listening to the Spurs fan base. It's extremely frustrating.
No, but of course they're not, mate. Of course they're not. Like, this whole new board, Vinay and the rest, they've given him those assurances. That's why he can sit there confidently. That's why I think that he ain't going to go nowhere. Do I think that he should go? Yes. Do I think that he deserves to go? Absolutely. He should have gone time ago. Should have gone ages ago. January 1st, he should have gone, if not before. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my goodness. But I don't know whether it's severance package. I don't know whether it's delusion. I don't know whether it's they don't want to look like they're wrong. But even when they do that, you're looking very, very wrong. You don't want to listen to us, fine. We've turned into consumers then, haven't we? Rather than supporters, you're looking at us like a number. You're looking at us like a consumer. And you know what? When you look at the seats tonight, you can see what's happening. The consumers are saying no. They're saying no. You know what? I've had enough too. So it's up to you. Go on, Charlotte.
You're right about the supporters. I mean, I could only see empty seats on TV. But let's talk about the players, right? However bad, and when you were talking, Ricky, you got me thinking about this.
Okay.
However bad it was under Postecoglou, and let's be under no illusions, at parts of last season, it was pretty bad. You can make a case either way whether he deserved to lose his job or not, but let's not relitigate that. Point is, I don't think of an occasion where I didn't think the players were giving their all for him. And I am not sure looking tonight that the players were giving everything for their manager anymore. I'm not, like, I can't see that anymore. I don't think there's a plan. I don't think there's a throwing your body at it to get the result. I think it's gone.
But they're following the same game plan that they've done in 17 games before, Charlotte. So this ain't a new thing. This is the game plan. The boys are disciplined. Do you know what I mean? They're going, all right, and boss, we're going to do it. We're going to knock it back to Vicario. And do you know what? Instead of doing an overlap, you know what? We'll knock it sideways. Let's knock it backwards again. Let's try a long ball and see if our right winger can hold it up and do something amazing to get us going. That's the pattern of play that I've seen. So it's
and the players have clearly lost all faith in it.
Yeah, of course they have. Yeah, and you look at them tonight; they look scared in that first half. They were petrified in the first half. So what, that doesn't show belief. You want to see belief? Look at Newcastle. Wasn't every single one of them behind their manager tonight?
He said in the presser as well, 1,000% sure that he's the man that should be in charge, and he's 1,000% sure. I thought we would be doing better. There's been a few before me up here at Tottenham and at other clubs that have lost their head, but we need to stick together and keep a calm head. Honestly, just go, mate. Christ Almighty.
I can't, man. I can't.
On that note, I'm going because the stadium is actually closing. So, Craig, thanks so much for taking over. And Charlotte and Ricky, I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
See you in a bit.
All right, mate. Get home safe.
Right, let's get into the match incidents then, if we must. I suppose we better talk through it, hadn't we? Well, that first half was pretty appalling by Tottenham, wasn't it, really? A wrath of corners from Newcastle early on. Jacob Ramsey going close a few times. Tottenham just didn't really come out of the traps at all, did we? It was just awful first half. As I say, I'm not going to go through it minute by minute because I think everybody that watched the game, I don't think we need to relive that. But let's come on to let's come on to the offside goal, the Willock goal. Charlotte, come round to you on this. This was just before the half, wasn't it? It was just, I mean, it was part of his head offside. I didn't think this was what VAR was brought in for. All right, it saved us, but I don't want to see goals disallowed for this. We were lucky, really, weren't we?
Of course we were. Yeah, of course we were. I mean, I hate these decisions, these marginal ones. I actually thought in real time he was offside and it was more offside than it turns out to be. With this, the image you've got on screen and that they showed in the game, I have no interest in those type of goals being disallowed. It's nonsense. But that was a warning sign and we'd got away with one. And I don't really understand how we didn't learn from it. It was very poor. And there's this constant problem of there being a gap of space in and around the box.
Yeah. I actually agree with what Wenger was saying about this offside rule. It should be the back foot or something like that, because you're naturally leaning into it like the players doing there, and generally you're going to be offside. It's going to be such slim margins. I'd like to see the rule changed, to be honest with you, but I don't like to see goals disallowed because of that, even though it helped us out. Ricky, you got anything to say on this? I mean, it was offside technically, wasn't it?
How many have we had, mate? How many slivers of a toe, an elbow, a shoulder? How many times has it happened to us? For the first time, it went our way and we couldn't kick on from there. I mean, You know,
That's the right point.
It's the first time in ages that VAR has actually gone all right and called for us. You know, like think about the amount of things that have gone against us, whether it's ref or VAR this season, when we need a little bit of luck, you know. So the amount of times that it's happened to us, I'm happy this one happened to them.
No, but your point is the key one, Ricky. It happened, and the players didn't go, all right, we've got away with one, let's sort this out.
That's right.
Well,
that's
what
right.
happened 2 minutes later, Craig?
Well, that's right. And well, actually, leading up to that disallowed goal, Dragusin made a terrible clearance, went straight to Newcastle, and they were just on the attack straight away, and that's what led to that chance. And as you say, Charlotte, Ricky, actually, just stay with you for this, 45 plus 5, Howe, if that's how you say his name, apologies if it's not, puts Newcastle in the lead from close range. What happened with this goal, Rick?
It was just, it was a repeat, my friend. So it's like when this game started, within the first 2 minutes, when we had all of those corners and we started the game like that, and I was just like, oh no. And it just continued. So this was another one. It was a whipping, easily, like the boys were static again, you know, panicking, but static all at the same time. And it was going to happen. Probably should have happened earlier. You know, they were well deserved of it. They were pushing, pressing, and it was all too easy for them. So this was just a continuation of that, Craig. And, you know, like, especially after getting away with one, you go, come on, boys. Like, it's not long. But I got to say as well, within this first half, that, you know, I wasn't impressed with Bissouma at all. He was running around like a headless chicken again. And the times that he had the ball, he gave it away at points, you know. There was times that he just crowded out space. And then Spence as well. I mean, he grew into the second half, Spence, and he's just come off an injury. And that's what I'm putting it down to. But the amount of times that they got in on Spence's side, and Spence wasn't the player that he normally is. He, you know, where's the penitentiary gone when he locks up a right winger? He didn't go to him. He didn't challenge him. They got past him so many times in the first half. He wasn't dribbling the same way. And that's where I kind of go, look, he's just come back from injury. Okay, cool. But, you know, we needed him to be on point tonight. And so this was just a continuation of what was happening over that first half, Chris. They just put crosses in, created chaos, you know, had a couple of shots of Vicario, couldn't get it away, and then that defender's there to poke it through.
Yeah, I thought it was a decent enough save by Vicario. You could argue he should have pushed it further wide, but I thought it was a good initial save from him. Well, half-time came, boos around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium again. As Chris said, we're so used to this now. Very sad situation to be in. And at half-time, Thomas Frank made a substitution. Yeah, Paolini replaced Yves Bissouma, who, as we've said, was pretty poor on the night. Second half started how the first half ended, really. Newcastle had two attempts blocked, one from Anthony Gordon, one from Joe Willock, then another couple of corners from Newcastle. Jacob Ramsey has an attempt blocked twice, and then another one from Sven Botman, a left-footed shot from the right-hand side of the 6-yard area gets blocked. Conor Gallagher runs down the right wing, I think it was, and actually we looked good for a certain period of time in that second half. At least we were getting up the field, and then when Matisse Tell came on, Charlotte, come around to you. Do you think Matisse Tell actually showed what he's all about? I thought he was one of the players that actually showed a bit of forward momentum tonight.
Well, you're definitely right about that. He also, I've written down here when I was watching the game, he's about the only one that actually has worked out that to score a goal you need to shoot. That seems to be confusing to pretty much everyone else, and I don't really understand why. Just while we're finding the slight bits of praise, I think Tell does deserve some praise for this, if nothing else, for the situation he's in. He's clearly a talented young player. Mm-hmm. I don't know why he didn't start with Xavi in the middle. Mm-hmm. But Xavi is about the only Spurs player, particularly in the first half, who can say they played their best. And Tell clearly came on with the intention to prove himself and try and score. I don't, of all the people to criticise tonight, Matisse Tell is not one of them.
Yeah, and probably what we should say, the reason Matisse Tell came on was, of course, Wilson Odebear.
Who was doing well. He was trying as well.
Right, yeah.
He was trying, wasn't
he? He was,
yeah.
and I just think, well, I hope for Odebear's sake, because it did look, he went down. It looks, I thought it was an ACL at first. It doesn't appear to be. He walked off without limping at all. I know that generally, it doesn't mean anything all the time, but the way he went down, it could be his medial ligament or something like that. His knee was definitely a unnatural angle, should we say. So let's hope Wilson Odebear isn't out for long. Just a comment here from Alkan. Thank you very much for the donation. Disgraceful performance. If Enoch do not sack him, they need to go to. No club in Premier League would keep manager with such performances. Players look devoid of confidence and no creative clue. Change is a must. Can't agree more with that. Just seems like the whole fan base is not behind Thomas Frank anymore. And I know we spoke about it at length, Charlotte, but surely is it a dereliction of duty if the club don't act now? Because we're in serious danger, aren't we?
I think so. I think that, there's 11, 12, tomorrow there'll be 11 days to go until the next game, which is the North London derby. That is enough time to get someone in, give them a few training sessions and a clear run to sort something else. Look, it didn't take Michael Carrick a lot to change it around, did it? This is the first time they haven't won and they still drew. It is possible. I'm going to throw out that I'm going to get lots of messages in the chat and you can send your emails like why I'm wrong. But frankly, why can't Mauricio Pochettino manage Spurs at the end of the season and deal with the USA in the World Cup? It's fine. Like, I don't really understand why you can't do both those jobs for a few months. I wanted Poch out when it happened. I thought he'd lost it. I now think he is the only option to turn this around, to lift the mood, to get people back on side. I just think it's what needs to happen. I guess you want to talk about the equaliser and lovely Archie Gray. We will come on to that. Well, 53 minutes, Matisse Tell, who we were speaking about, again, showing that he was actually trying to get forward, left-footed shot from the centre of the box, goes over the bar. 54 minutes again, Pat Matassar cuts inside, right-footed shot, saved by Nick Pope. Kieran Trippier had to make a save.
Yeah, he did. Kieran Trippier wins a free kick in the defensive half. Then Newcastle push upfield again. Anthony Gordon's caught offside again. That was that chance where Newcastle nearly got him behind us. Thankfully, he was offside. A couple of blocks, and then Conor Gallagher goes on another run down the left wing. And Spurs are really getting back into the game. And as you say, coming on to that, Charlotte, Ricky, coming around to you for this, we actually equalised, which probably at the time I thought we actually deserved. Archie Gray gets a goal on 64 minutes from a corner again, another set piece. Talk us through this one.
Well, it wasn't just this set piece, though, Craig. Like Archie Gray in that second half, as Charlotte was alluding to, he absolutely woke up and he started taking the game by the scruff of the neck at that right back position and started driving. And so he was making things happen through just driving forward and trying to make positive play. So when it came down to this corner, I'm sure it was Tell that took this corner, and he's got a fantastic delivery as well. It bounced around, but it was just so good for it to land at Archie and then almost like side foot it in, almost clip it into the goal. And for the first time in the whole match, we saw some momentum and we saw us go for something and we actually scored. So but for me, it was all down to just before this moment where Archie really did have that positive piece of play. He picked it up on the right-hand side. He wriggled through 2-3. And that was another frustration as well. Every time that we did break forward, there was no options, whether it was for Xavi, whether it was Solanke, whether it was Tell, whoever it was, we didn't have, every single time we went forward, we started running out of options up until that 65th, 70th minute, when we was getting into the game and when we started to try and play football. So to see Tell take it by the scruff of the neck and make that happen and then be resulted in a corner and then it went on, and for him to get that goal, absolutely perfect. It's just a shame we couldn't continue that momentum and take it forward. We're just so easy to cut through, you know?
Yeah, well, the 1-1 scoreline didn't last very long because on 68 minutes, Jacob Ramsey up the other end went and scored what was actually the winning goal for Newcastle. Charlotte, to come around to you for this goal. This was it was schoolboy, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it starts with Conor Gallagher trying to break through and losing the ball just inside the Newcastle half. And then they turn it around, Newcastle. Now, I don't want to have too much of a pop at Conor Gallagher in the sense of, yes, this was his mistake that started the move, but there was a lot of people that could have cleaned it up after him. But it wasn't great by Gallagher. It's, maybe perhaps indicative of trying too hard, because I don't doubt his effort. But it all started with Gallagher's mess. I thought, we don't close anyone down. And, inevitably, and once they got ahead, we didn't ever look like getting back into it, did they? It was poor to give away a goal so quickly after equalising, and we didn't establish ourselves at all. In fact, it got worse after we scored.
It did. And the worrying thing about that image, apologies for listeners on audio, but the ball's just about to be played through from Anthony Gordon there. And I think there are 2 Newcastle players unmarked in the centre of the goal there. And it's the defending.
There's gaps everywhere, Craig.
There's gaps everywhere. You're right. Yeah, it's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous.
There's gaps everywhere. But Craig, you're absolutely right. Every time that they was on the attack, there was always 2 or 3 men absolutely free within space to make anything happen. Right. And then whenever we pushed up the field, there was 3 Newcastle players around 1 player. Why? Because he didn't have an option to get out. And then when we did have an option to get out, it was a short pass, and then they picked it up and then they countered on us. It happened so many times, man. It happened so many times that this was inevitable. It was going to happen. They just turned up the gears a little bit and said, "All right, cool, let's go and get it." That's what I see when you talk about a team playing for their manager. That's what I saw. They went, you know what? No, we're not having that. Let's turn it up. We can do something. We know we can get through them. And for a quote unquote defensive coach, this is what I'm saying about Frank. He fails on so many levels. From a defensive coach, for us to be easily cut through for the 90 minutes, whenever they wanted to cut through, they cut through. You reeled off about 16 shots then. Do you know what I mean? Like before we got here. I just can't believe it. I mean, I can believe it from Frank, but I just can't. I don't know, mate.
No, I know what you mean, Rick. Well, Roy Price writes here, friend of the show. Thanks, Roy. Craig, as you know, I, like you, have been calling for Frank to be sacked weeks and weeks ago. If he's not gone in the morning, I will be shocked. I'll be shocked if he's not. But I'm just not convinced. I'm just not convinced that they will get rid of him. I'm not sure they've got the cojones to do it. And I can't even pronounce that name. Saidak. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. I'm at number 8.
That was good.
Pub now chanting, thank you. We want Enoch out. Not a single fan joined in. Keep Frank and we'll go down. Players gave up on Frank today. I think that's it, Charlotte, isn't it? Did you get the feeling that the players just gave up? Do you think Thomas Frank has lost the dressing room at this point?
That's a really interesting question, because I hadn't thought that until today at all, actually. I think you might make the case, for example, in the City second half last weekend, that what actually they did was decide to ignore Thomas Frank and just get stuck in. But after tonight, that looks like a team. It looks like a team bereft. I don't know if they like him or don't like him. Look, and I want to say, you mentioned it a while, Ricky, and I didn't want to jump in and interrupt you, but you made a point about the players with Postecoglou. And I think that's right. Look, last season was in the Premier League was disastrous. No ifs, no buts. But there was no point where you felt the players didn't want to be with Ange Postecoglou. You can debate whether it was right or wrong to sell him, whatever. But I think there was a bond there. And I'm thinking back to Spencer and Van der Ven storming off the pitch months ago.
Yeah.
Something has gone really fundamentally wrong. And I'll reiterate what I said at the top of the show. I'm really disappointed by this because I liked Thomas Frank at Brentford. I've wanted him to become the Spurs manager for 2 or 3 years, but this is not working, and it's not about tonight. It's not about tonight. This is falling apart now.
Yeah, well, you look at Van der Ven, right? And Van der Ven's a really good. I mean, he's another one that wears his heart on his sleeve, sort of thing. You can read his face, and you talk about that Van der Ven and Spence incident that happened this year, and I think back to the time that he got given a note. I can't remember in what game, but Frank gave him a note, and he looked at it, and it's almost like he shook his head, and it was more to me the way that he screwed it up and threw it. That said more to me, right? It wasn't even his face when he read it. It was more the way that he screwed it up and just threw it. It was like, oh my goodness, what are we doing now? And he hasn't looked happy in a long time, right? Van der Ven last year was you could bet your house on him in a sense of clearing the ball, and he's still got character. It's not about him not having character, right? So he still steps up in a sense,
of course,
but he doesn't look happy. And I haven't seen him looking like he's backing this plan or this mission or the way that Frank sets up this team. You look at him in the overlap interview, and there was a point where, like, and this is what Andrew's talking about when it comes down to character, and especially coming to Tottenham, because he's a young player. For the last 20 years, Tottenham have pretty much been the butt of the joke in the Premier League. We've had our highs, we've had our lows, but majority of the time, we know that everybody loves to laugh at Tottenham. And he had his mates going, no, you can't go Tottenham. And he was like, no, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change the way that I'm going to make everybody look at us in a different way. And he came in with that mission. And he came in with that mission with Ange, who he believed in. And throughout the decimation of injuries that we had, and throughout the decimation of lack of help as well from the board last January for Ange up until deadline day, but we needed those players in early last year too, and we went on and we lifted a trophy, and then you can see how much it affected him. So if it affected him, after the madness that they went through, and there was a togetherness, there was a family unit, there was a brotherhood, they were fighting for each other, they were sticking up for Ange. There was many times Maddison came out and done an interview and he stuck up for Ange and he reiterated the situation, and he went, no, look, we're trying, this is what and they were still behind the way in which they were playing football. But it's all gone the other way, and we've gone to the total opposite with Frank, and it's hitting the skids right now. We're falling, we're tumbling down this road, and nobody's going, mind your feet. Everyone's still tripping on that same rock.
Yeah. For me, the thing is, and I know Craig will go through each incident, but frankly, for me, the point was once Newcastle had scored their second goal, we basically never looked like equalising. And that's really what I can say on it.
You're right. Big up, Roy.
Big up, Roy. Ricky Kane, the Robo goalkeeper killer. Absolutely.
Oh, don't encourage him, for goodness sake.
Come on now. You've got to smile at me now. I'm supposed to be miserable. Come on, Roy.
That's right. Well, this might not cheer you up. Thomas Frank to TNT Sport, when asked if his job is under threat, he said, I spoke to them, the owners, yesterday, so no. Honestly, it's unbelievable.
I don't know how this guy has got this amount of backing. Even with Conte, even with Conte, you could go, you know what? All right, if we back him, something might happen. Something good might happen. Even if we went through that storm, but we didn't, right? Every single manager, we sacked Mourinho 6 days before a final. We couldn't get through to the final before we sacked it. But
it's unbelievable.
This guy gets this type of support. It's hilarious. It's beyond a joke right now.
Do you know what they say? If there's an atomic bomb or the end of the world, the only thing that would survive would be cockroaches, and Thomas Frank would still be Spurs manager. Honestly. It's unbelievable. Let's get through the rest of the game. Substitution on 70 minutes. Tottenham Hotspur bring on Randall Muani, who replaced Conor Gallagher. And to be honest, the rest of the game, it didn't really get any better for Spurs. Newcastle had a fair few chances, still attacking. Spurs did have a few attempts. Matisse Tell went close.
Shot, wasn't there?
The Van der Ven shot over the bar. Then Bruno Guimaraes went down. I'm sure he was injured, but Newcastle just playing for time at this point. Javi Simmons whipped over a free kick. Nothing came of that. And ultimately, the game ended 90+7. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Newcastle 2. And, well, we all know what happened next. And thank God Manchester United equalised against West Ham United, because at least that gives us a 5-point gap. And that was the match. So we move on. We get a weekend off because we're not in the FA Cup. We're out of that, as everybody knows. So the next game... Don't say it. Don't say it, mate. I'm going to have to. I'm sorry. It's the North London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Not this weekend coming. You'll be pleased to know we got a weekend off. It's the following weekend. So, Charlotte, let's come round to you.
Good luck, Charlotte.
Let's assume. Actually, give me a couple of answers here. Do you think Thomas Frank's still going to be in charge? If he is, how do you see the game going? And do you think the best way for us to even have a chance of getting something out of this Arsenal match is to sack him and bring in an interim?
Yeah, I do. I feel fairly confident that now, nothing will scare the board more than empty seats, and quite rightly. And there were, as I understand it, a lot of empty seats tonight. That will be a warning. The result is a disaster. That will be a warning. I think they probably do have to make their decision. And just to bring it back to something you guys were raising at the top of the show, they neither sacked nor backed Frank in January. You guys pointed that out earlier in the show. You were 100% right. You have to do one or the other, and they did neither. And I think, Conor Gallagher wasn't great tonight, but I think he's a good signing. And so now you've dealt with that January transfer window. You've now there's no answer but to sack Frank. It has to happen, unfortunately. I'm sad it hasn't worked out, but it hasn't. And the best way to give us any hope of getting something against Arsenal and kick-starting the rest of the season is by changing it. I'm half joking about Mauricio Pochettino coming back and then let him do the USA job as well. Do you know what I mean? I'm sort of half joking about it, but half not. Get Robbie Keane back to be the interim. I don't know. But they've got to do something to lift the mood. Because this can't go on. We will lose 5-0 to Arsenal if Thomas Frank is still in charge. I'm sorry to say that. But that's really where we are now.
I don't know if this is true. I'm sure it is. Rich Stangs, see Arsenal tickets on general sale. I mean, if that's true, it is true. Is it?
Well, I've heard other people say it.
That is just unbelievable. That is unbelievable. I can't remember that ever happening certainly in recent history. Ricky, what way? How can we even get anything out of this Arsenal game? Personally, I think he's got to go soon and get the interim in, give him 13, 14 days. Well, it's about 12 or 13 days, isn't it? So he's going to have a nice while to work with the players and get a few ideas across. You're not expecting miracles, of course, but I just think it would give everybody a lift, wouldn't it? Surely that's the way to go about it.
It's fundamentally obvious, whichever which way you look at it, that whatever plan Frank puts out doesn't work, doesn't resonate. Nobody responds to it. Fan, player, even the linesman, nobody responds to it. Nobody is saying that this is the way forward. What we need is Tottenham people back in this club, right? Sometimes it's not good to go for the sentimental or etc. But we need Tottenham people back in this club because, firstly, we've got far too many gooners. Secondly, the Tottenham way has been lost, and you need some Tottenham people back in there to go, you know what, come on, boys, this is how we normally play football. This is what we're about, really, which sets it up in an interim phase, which sets it up for the only man that can, which is Pochettino, to come back in and have, because we've got a talented squad. This Frank has made us look horrendous, but we do have a talented squad in there. We've got a great bunch of youngsters. Someone like Poch, you can come through, not only motivate their minds, but motivate their hearts. And that's where you get an extra 10%, right? That's where you get the last minute winners. And don't we remember the last minute winners with Poch? How many times in those last 5 minutes where we 1-1, 2-2, and we went on to get the winner? We that was part of our DNA at that point, you know. So we were balanced left from front to back under him. So for me, of course, he's the man going forward. I don't think the USA will let him do both jobs right now.
No, I'm joking. I'm being facetious.
But I'm with you in that sense. But that's why I say, you know what? Go get Mason, go get Hoddle, go get Redknapp, get them all together, and get them out there to do something Tottenham related. Get them to remind these players who they are. Remind them of the talent they possess. Remind them of how powerful they are when they are together, when they have that brotherhood, when they look left and right and they work and they play for each other, not just the shirt, not just for us in the fans, but for each other first and foremost, for their families sitting at home, for all of the struggles that they've had to go through to make it to where they are. 1 in a million. We've got 1 in a million players that have had to go through so many different schools and trials and tribulations to get where they are. Doesn't matter how big, how strong, or how old they are, they've done it. They're here, right? So you got to give them the confidence to go out there and go and get a result, go and play that football. Because every single time that we've gone to play football, not only have we looked good, but we've bloody well won. We've won when we play football. I don't understand. I don't understand how all your analysts, you've got that university student up in the stands with his laptop, and I don't understand how you can't see how playing football helps us not only win but defend. So what are you looking at?
Especially at home.
But what are you looking at? What are you looking at? I don't care, home or away. What are you looking at? So I need Tottenham people in there, bro. I need somebody that knows the way, that feels the way, that has got heart in the game, that wants us to play the way. Not somebody who's drinking out of a Guna cup and laughing at us. Do you know what I mean? And they can sit there and go, yeah, they ain't sacking me. It's fine. I know, Shaw. I'm being bad. I know.
Can I just jump in?
I don't care about the cups and this and that. What I care about is you've raised the correct point, Ricky, which is this group of players is not as bad as they are being made to look, and that for me is the beginning and the end of the argument.
Yeah, can I just jump in on something you said there, Rick, as well? Thomas Frank, right? We spoke about what he said there, that he's had this chat and he said he's going to be 1,000% be the manager for the North London derby, right? It's kind of a weird answer in many ways, because that's going to make him look ridiculous if they do sack him, right? I've never heard a manager come out and say, when he's been asked, do you think you're going to be the manager? Most managers would turn around and say, well, that's not up to me, right? The fact he's either is that confident, and Vinay's turned around to him and said, look, no matter what happens, you're here for the rest of the season. And that's worrying if he said that, because you should never say that to somebody, because you don't know what's coming. The train's coming down the tracks, right? Or is he going to make himself and the board look stupid if they do sack him now after what he said? It's weird, isn't it? It's just a weird thing.
Craig, the thing is that he's looked foolish all season. He said so many things where we're going to go out there and attack. We're going to be on the front foot. We're going to go and do this. We're going to go and do that. And come blow the whistle at 3:00 on a Saturday. Minute 1, we haven't done that, mate. The only thing that he said that has been true is that we will lose games. And that's how we started this journey. We will lose games. You know, I had my manager last year telling me we're going to win in the second season, and we did. This guy told me we're going to lose games, and we are. And we're losing a lot. I never believed that this guy would be the one. I hoped once we signed him, I looked into him, I gave him a chance. We started the season well. You know, he was adapting different positions. We were looking good at different areas of the game. We'd upped our free kick game. We'd upped our corner game. There was some things that were green shoots. You're going all right and cool, but the football itself, comme ci, comme ça, I was still unsure about. And then when it came to it, mate, I've said it for months. We've been playing relegation football under this manager, and he keeps saying we're doing well. That wasn't a bad result. Actually, I see good signs. Oh my goodness. So he's looked foolish for me all season, bro. And so if he looks foolish again, thank goodness. Thank you very much. See you later. Take your hair gel and do what you need to do, my friend. But I think that this board has been inactive, and they've also gone back on what they've said as well. And they haven't backed their own chat either. They've not shown us any change. They've not shown us that they're willing to do anything that they've said that they're going to do. Even the Vinay statement 2 weeks in to the winter window, we didn't see nothing. So I don't know, like you said there, Craig, whether they've got the cojones to pull the trigger. I think they're going to try and string it out until the end of the season. And we will be in that relegation scrap. We are in it, and we will be in it. And once we drop into that bottom three, I want to see their faces, and I want to see them all, mate. Do you know what I mean? Let's see what Levy shares do then when we're in the bottom three. Let's see what these new owners do then, because they had the opportunity to act just a few weeks ago, just a couple of days ago. They had an opportunity to act. They did not. They sat on their hands. You know, whether that was to get rid of Frank, whether that was to buy a player, whether that was to put us in a better position. They done nothing. Zero. In fact, afterwards, like I said to you the other day, Craig, you know, Vinay wants to come out and talk about a big summer. Do me a favour. And then Lange wants to come out and say, yeah, but the rest of the Premier League only made 33 transfers. You went and counted 33 transfers to justify the fact that you couldn't do your job. Do me a favour, bruv. Do me a favour. They're all wafflers, man. And I haven't seen anything where I've seen them show a sign of strength or a sign of change apart from get rid of people in that board and put new people in them. I don't know who knows what's happening where, but they've got to figure it out. You're supposed to be all big people with big degrees, and you're more intelligent than me. You've studied, you know, your maths more than me. I know how to learn a script. I can't do what you do, bruv. Do you know what I mean? But you're supposed to be the intelligent ones. You're supposed to be the ones that are business orientated, that want to be number one in business. And every single level, you're failing. Sort it out. Sort it out. Show me you're different. Show me you're different. Don't talk to me. Show me.
Yeah, that's all we can ask, isn't it? Charlotte, you got anything else you want to get off your chest before we go?
Look, no, I think we've hit on all the key topics. For me, the thing is they've got to act quickly now. I'll repeat it again. I didn't want to get to this point with Frank. I was happy when he was appointed. It has not worked. You cannot let this slip going backwards. All it needs is a defeat against Arsenal and us and West Ham to get on a run, and then suddenly we're below the dotted line. That cannot be allowed to happen. But the other thing to remember, and this may be me ending on a little bit of a positive note, which is bizarre after the evening we've had, is that the gaps within the league are still not that big. A decent run gets you moving up the table very quickly, and they need to sadly grasp the nettle and get that done, make the change, and we could move, Arsenal, whatever, we might lose anyway because they're Arsenal, but you could move up the table relatively quickly if they make the right decision and do it quickly in this gap between games.
Absolutely. I don't have faith that they're going to, but I think that's what every single Spurs fans want, really, 99.9 anyway. Charlotte, thanks so much for coming back. Lovely to have you on. Sorry it's talking about a defeat, but such is life with Spurs at the moment.
I was lucky when I first came on. It's been a pleasure to be chatting with you boys, even after the debacle earlier.
Absolutely. Well, where can people find you on social media, Charlotte? So
I'm at Charlotte A. Henry across pretty much all of social media. I run theedition.net, which is a newsletter about the crossover of culture, media and sport. That's Edition ADD. And if you want my rantings about Spurs, particularly the Spurs women's team, where I was with Chris just at the weekend, it's lilywhitewoman.co.uk.
Lovely. Thank you, Charlotte. And Ricky, I think everybody knows where they can find you, Mr. Top Bins, but tell people where they can find you.
You guys know where you can find me, man. Sorry for being miserable and angry tonight, man. You guys helped me get off my chest, but I don't know what position we're in right now. We'll get through it together, Tottenham. We will get through it together. My goodness. But you guys know where you can find me, at Ricky J. Norwood on X, official Ricky Norwood on Instagram. And the latest episode of Tea Talk and Tottenham with my brother Darren Hart is out right now. So you can type it in and hear more of my rantings. It wasn't as fiery as tonight, but it was still fiery. It was fiery. Me and Darren went back and forth on that latest episode. So if you want to see more of that, check that out. It's out right now. But always a pleasure being on with yourself, Craig, and yourself, Charlotte, and all of you beautiful people around the world. We will get through it. We'll get through it together because win, lose, or draw, we are Tottenham Hotspur first and foremost. So we will cheer these boys on. We will do as much as we can do as fans and supporters. And fingers crossed the ball can do the right thing for the first time ever and show us what they're about.
Let's hope so, Rick. Let's hope so. Well, look, thanks everybody for joining on what has been another difficult show. Such is life as a Spurs fan at the moment. Look, let's hope for brighter days to come. Fingers crossed. We've got a fair few days now before the next game against Arsenal, so let's hope for a positive result in that game, and let's see what the next few days brings and if the club are going to make any change in the managerial post. I'm sure a lot of people will breathe a sigh of relief if they do and be frustrated if they don't, but let's see what happens at Tottenham. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for listening. And remember, it's only football. Don't have nightmares. Please do sleep well. Good night.